Welcome to The Explainer. Okay, today we are completely stepping away from the familiar. We're cracking open the absolutely chilling real-life case files of veteran paranormal investigator Ram Ashok. With over 2 decades in the field, Ashok doesn't just chase shadows, He investigates phenomena that literally shatter our understanding of logic, physics, and reality. So if you think you know what goes bump in the night, get ready to have your entire perspective rewritten. You don't know what energy is in front of you. Never challenge them. That quote right there from Ram Ashok, that is the foundation of our entire journey today. It's a strict philosophy born purely from survival. This isn't just some spooky folklore. It is a tactical warning from a guy who has literally stood face to face with the inexplicable. Keep this warning in the back of your mind as we go through these files, because as you'll see, the people in these stories often found out the hard way just how real that warning is. Case File 01, The Locked Room Mystery in Noida. Let's dive right into this. We're looking at a completely ordinary apartment block in Noida, flat number 09 to be exact. A young working couple just moved in from Pune with their 1-year-old baby in a 1-year-old Labrador. Sounds perfectly normal, right? Well, notice the bizarre escalation of events that followed. It started with the dog just staring intently into this unused, closed room with glass doors, day after day. It wouldn't bark, wouldn't eat, it just stared. The couple checked the room multiple times and found absolutely nothing. Then, one evening they get home from work. The front door is securely locked from the outside, but when they step inside, the dog is completely gone. How does a dog reach the top of a 6-foot wardrobe? They searched everywhere for this poor pup. Finally, the wife turns on the light in the bathroom of that unused room. As she turns around, she spots a trail of fresh blood dripping down from the top of a smooth wooden wardrobe. Her husband rushes in, looks on top of this 6-foot-tall wardrobe, and finds the dead body of their Labrador. But here is the truly mind-bending, horrifying part. The dog's skull is entirely missing. It wasn't shattered or broken. It had just vanished, almost like something consumed it. There is literally no physical way a dog could climb up there, and zero trace of where the skull went. The crucial takeaway here is that this wasn't just a floorboard creaking in the night. This was violent. It was physical, and it was impossible. The family packed a single suitcase and fled their home that very night. And you know what? Flat 09 remains empty today. But local night shift guards consistently report seeing 2 mysterious women in identical clothes just roaming inside the locked flat. The guards have tried calling out to them, but they never stop and they never answer. Moving on to Case File 02, The Burning Girl Apparition in Delhi. If Noida was about closed doors and unseen things, Delhi is about inescapable, in-your-face, visual horror. We're talking about an abandoned ground-floor apartment right next to a ruined generator room. Witnesses consistently report peering through the broken windows of this flat and seeing a young girl, maybe 8 to 10 years old, wearing a little frock. She's holding a book. But the absolute nightmarish part? Her entire body is engulfed in flames, head to toe. The book is burning, she is burning, and yet she's just standing there, reading. If a witness happens to catch her attention, she slowly turns and locks eyes with them with this unblinking, direct stare. And it's not just the apparition. The environmental anomalies surrounding this place are staggering. Ashok himself has investigated the site multiple times. Locals report that around 1 a.m., up to 10 car alarms in the neighborhood will just trigger simultaneously for absolutely no reason. You'll find these completely unnatural gatherings of owls filling up the nearby trees. Outside the doors of the few occupied flats upstairs, packs of black cats will just sit there, staring blankly at the wood. And most chillingly, fresh blood is frequently found smeared on the trees outside. It is literally a localized zone of absolute dread. Case File 03, The Racked Pishak Possession in Varanasi. For this one, we shift from apparitions to active, visceral possession. This involves a single mother and her 12-year-old daughter, and it's an active case Ashok is currently investigating. To even wrap our heads around what's happening to this poor girl, we have to look at local lore. The community and investigators believe she is possessed by a Racked Pishak. In Hindu scriptures, this is a blood-drinking entity, kind of akin to what Western lore might call a vampire or locally known as a munja. Essentially, it's an aggressive parasite that drains a person's life force and demands a massive amount of energy to sustain itself. This entity's presence actually manifests in physically impossible consumption. Let's put this into perspective. A normal 12-year-old might eat a plate or two of food, right? But under this alleged possession, this young girl will devour 7 entire plates of idli in one single sitting. Or she'll eat a full kilogram of curd or half a kilo of boiled rice all by herself. It's a ravenous, completely unnatural hunger that her small body literally shouldn't be able to handle. But the horror goes way beyond her appetite. The mother originally called investigators because she found bloody footprints, perfectly matching her daughter's foot size, stamped directly onto the ceiling. An 8-foot ceiling, defying gravity entirely. The girl will lock onto visitors with these unblinking, dead eyes that just evoke pure terror. And she frequently attacks her own mother, biting her violently or even chasing her with a knife, totally unprovoked. Ashok actually had to install CCTV just to monitor the escalating violence of this case, which is still incredibly active. Which brings us to Case File 04. The Cursed Landscape of Kodaikanal. What if the paranormal isn't just confined to a single flat? What if it taints an entire 20-kilometer radius? Welcome to Kodaikanal. Ashok spent 12 years living and researching here, and he basically mapped out a terrifying geographical tour of pure supernatural activity. First, you have the Guna Caves, these deep crevices where people would literally vanish, getting so bad the government had to net the entrances shut. Then there's Pillar Rocks, featuring a terrifying sheer drop famously known as Suicide Point. But maybe the most unsettling is this 1-kilometer pathway lined with pear trees. Ashok was actually walking this path at dusk, looked up into the zigzagging branches and saw a man sitting up there. But the man's legs were stretched down an impossible 15 feet, dangling all the way to the ground. Ashok called for a guard with a flashlight and boom, the entity vanished. A landscape of perpetual cold and lingering unnatural deaths. So what is the actual connection here? Well, Ashok points out that this specific region is perpetually freezing 12 months a year. In paranormal theory, massive temperature drops are heavily associated with spiritual activity. The working theory is that Kodaikanal's tragic history of suicides and sudden unnatural deaths has essentially created this massive reservoir of trapped energy. According to the scriptures Ashok references, people who die before their natural lifespan are often bound to wander, lingering in these freezing, high-altitude hotspots. And that leads us right into our final section, the investigator's warning. You're probably wondering, how on earth does someone survive 20 years of dealing with this stuff? Well, it takes a massive psychological toll. Ashok is absolutely adamant about his survival rules. Rule number 1, never challenge an entity. Don't stand in the dark and ask it to touch you or prove it's there. Second, do not invite communication. Third, do not try to establish a relationship. And finally, never assume the identity of a spirit. Even if something appears as a deceased loved one, Ashok warns you of literally no way of knowing if it's truly them or just something far darker wearing their face. You have got to keep those boundaries absolute. But here's the thing, even with all those strict rules, the darkness still bleeds through, waking up to a scream in the ear every single week for 15 years. That is Ram Ashok's reality. Once a week, or maybe every 10 days, he is violently jolted awake by a deafening, piercing scream directly inside his ear. He can never tell if it's a man or a woman. It is a calculated, terrifying tactic to deprive him of sleep, a constant reminder that the entities he spends his life studying are always watching him right back. Are we ever truly alone? We go about our daily routines, right? Walking down the street, sitting in our apartments, just assuming we are perfectly safe in our modern, logical world. But when family pets vanish from locked rooms and impossible bloody footprints appear on 8-foot ceilings, it forces us to ask that deeply unsettling question. Are we ever truly alone? Or are we just ignoring the shadows that are staring right back at us? Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer, and remember, keep your eyes open.